And now to take a closer look at the memorandum released by the White House of the phone conversation between President Trump and Ukraine's President Zelensky. I'm joined by Larry Pfeiffer, former senior director of the White House Situation Room during the Obama administration and chief of staff to the director of the CIA during the Bush administration. He's currently serving as the director of George Mason University's Hayden Center for Intelligence, Policy, and International Security. Larry Pfeiffer, thank you very much for being here.
Thank you very much for having me.
So as somebody who has worked in the White House, in the Situation Room, sat in on a number of phone calls between the President of the United States, leaders of other countries, how normally would a whistleblower complaint be handled around something like this?
Oh gosh, I don't know if there's a normal really here. We have phone conversations that are being transcribed. Then a memorandum is being written to capture that transcript. It can be something as explicit as what we saw today, or it could be something summarizing the conversation. So the transcript today, clearly was pretty explicit in what the president was saying. And at one level, you have to applaud the president for putting this very explicit document out.
But in your experience, well, let me just back up for just a second. In recording, it's not recorded. There's no audio recording of these conversations. So there are individuals there taking notes as fast as they can on this conversation.
Yeah, they're actually listening to the conversation live, and they're typing furiously on their computers, trying to capture every single word and nuance of the conversation.
And then what is done with that?
So we have 3 individuals. They work up 3 separate transcripts. They then get together and reconcile them into a unified draft. That is then provided by the Situation Room to the NSC directorate responsible for the call. In this case, it would have been Europe. And an NSC senior director or director would review that, apply some expertise to perhaps correcting some of the material, and then they would ultimately decide in what format that final memo would be. Would it be an explicit transcript, or would it be more of a summation? In this case, it looks like they went with the verbatim transcript.
And clearly, but again, it wasn't recorded. It was
not
recorded. Whatever their notes were.
Absolutely.
But how many people roughly? Obviously, things are done differently from one administration to the next.
Sure.
Roughly, how many people ultimately would have access to that document?
So the document itself, there would be the individuals in the Situation Room. There would be the folks in the directorate. That could be anywhere from 1 to 3 or 4 people in the directorate. That memo is then provided to the National Security Advisor's front office under normal situations, so there could be a few people there. And then it is provided to the Executive Secretary of the National Security Council for filing and distribution. So again, another couple of people. And then depending upon where it's distributed, there could be a handful more people as well.
And then wearing your hat as someone in the, who's worked in the intelligence community, and we've talked about your experience working in a White House, if one of those individuals either is the whistleblower himself or herself, or shared that information with someone who has now seen this and decided it was concerning enough to bring it forward.
Right.
But you were just saying a moment ago, this is not a normal thing, clearly.
No, not, I mean, to see something so egregious that one would put his career on the line to do a whistleblower complaint suggests to me that they have more than just one phone call, and they have some fairly compelling information to provide.
And in fact, that's the information that has been reported out. We are just now starting to see reaction from members of Congress who've seen, and our Lisa Desjardins mentioned that, who've seen what the whistleblower complaint is. And some of them are saying it's disturbing, including Republican Senator Ben Sasse of Nebraska.
Right, I'm not surprised. I was fully anticipating that this whistleblower complaint would be more complete, have more information that will ultimately require additional disclosures. Perhaps he reflects conversations that he or she participated in. Perhaps it reflects emails or other documents that relate to what was going on with the Ukraine problem.
And just a very quick question, based on your experience in the intelligence community, is it expected that the White House would know the identity of the whistleblower?
Now, the whistleblower should be being protected by the IC Inspector General and the intelligence community. So the President of the United States should not know the whistleblower's name unless the whistleblower decides they want their name to be disclosed.
All right, Larry Pfeiffer, director of the Hayden Center at George Mason University. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Judy.